Thank you, Dr. Veermani, and thank you, Charan, giving me this opportunity to share some. We have really difficulties in making our rural area technology savvy. There are certain constraints, and because of that, they are unable to take advantage of the newer technologies and also benefit from the services that the governments can actually provide. So let me basically talk about our experience in actually looking at teleeducation and telemedicine, which nowadays has been a major method by which people can sort of manage the COVID situation in terms of education as well as health. Now, if you look at delivery of public services, we know that in India, it's a problem. It's a significant problem. While we have fairly good design in terms of public policies, but implementation is a big issue. I think this we have recognized for a long time. I think we have been trying to see how best we can improve upon, but the problem remains fairly large. But this problem is more acute in rural areas. One of the problems, of course, one of the feature in rural area is that they are more dependent on public service than the private service, whereas in urban area, we could see private sector participating actively in education, health, and so on. In rural area, it is not so much. We have weak infrastructure in rural area. I'll come back to that point later on. And information availability is also very poor in rural area. So there is also we see disconnect between citizen and government. I'll explain this point more. And we see rural-urban divide. Sometime around 2006-07, Karnataka government actually started with what is called as Nemadi Kendras. Nemadi is actually translates to happiness. Kendras is center, so these happiness centers. So what is happiness centers? Essentially, the government was trying to deliver some of the important services through these centers. What are those services? One important service was this land title, what is called as RTC. So record of rights, tenancy, and crops. So that was quite important for farmers because every year they have to take this the RTC from the village talati and give it to the bank, cooperative societies, and other places in order to get credit. So getting that itself was quite difficult task, and government thought it's good to make it simpler, and therefore initiated these centers where they can get it more easily. These centers were at block level, and they had initiated some centers at sub-block level as well. So what we thought is we will study this. And when we studied it, we found that, well, this is a good concept in bringing services to rural areas, important services, and technology can actually help in delivering rural service. So we thought of trying to see how, when we studied the happiness center, it was not all that happy centers because there were issues with respect to running the managing these centers, and there were only few services that were delivered at that time. So we thought of sort of looking at this particular concept and expanding it and see how best it can be managed. So when we then we did a sort of a rapid appraisal of the information needs of rural people. That's where we found is a number of areas where farmers and rural citizens need information. It's with respect to agriculture, employment, government to citizen services, education, health, banking, finance, social and cultural aspects of life, and as well as business to citizen services. So there were these whole lot of requirements that were there by the people, but these were not really delivered in an user-friendly way. So we thought that, given the current situation, that is, weak link with the rural citizen, with the government, inadequate private participation, proliferation of government schemes are there. Several of them are there, but they don't really reach people. And there are no proper evaluation for policy implementation, and outcome measurements are generally poor, and there is a poor capability in the government. And there was also, of course, poor database used in the policy decisions. So when we look at the structure in the government system, what we find generally is at the state level, yes, there is a capability and there are enough officers and so on. But as you go down district up to taluka or a block, there are fairly good systems working with officers and the officers and so on. But when you go to Gram Panchayat level, there is a weak link between Gram Panchayat and talukas, and therefore there are difficulties in actually providing, whether it is rural development services or health services, education or agriculture services or revenue services, which is basically the land related, property related services. So what we thought is, if let's say we can have a common service center at the Gram Panchayat level, then, and if it is enabled with technology, then it should be able to actually interact with the citizen. It should be able to build links with taluka level as well as, state level. And of course, it can also facilitate linkage with the business. So in effect, it should be able to solve the current problems of delivering various kinds of services in the rural areas. So with that, we basically started our work in 15 Gram Panchayats, with the assumption that if we are able to provide good quality information to the people, then one can improve the livelihood opportunities because market information will be there, both selling their products as well as buying required products. It reduces risk. With more information, we know, one can reduce risk, as well as it can enrich living conditions because the facilitation that it can provide with respect to a whole host of issues like travel or entertainment and so on, one should be able to have a better livelihood situation in rural area. At the same time, even the government may benefit because today government is actually is short of quality information, timely information. In fact, I remember having a discussion with one of the ministers at the Karnataka's government that he said, in order to get information, I need that it takes about 2 to 3 months from his own department. So which is, and then of course, this information is not really, synchronous, and there are different versions at different with different people and so on, and there are a whole lot of issues with respect to that. And therefore, if we can get quality information for government, so better planning is possible, effective delivery is possible, as well as easy monitoring and evaluation. So that is the idea with which we started this common service center concept, providing a cluster of services, integrated services. That means, various aspects of a particular business like agriculture should be given at one place itself, and complete information. It's not just the application itself, how to fill the application, what are the documents that needs to go through, and so on. That if we are able to provide, then definitely people are able to make best use of such information. So one-stop community center is what we had initiated. In fact, it was at that time the common service centers concept was being developed. And so one can provide a cluster of services, various services with respect to education, employment, entrepreneurship, agriculture, banking, insurance, health, and so on. So that was the concept, which would help both government, citizens, as well as businesses to benefit from this. The government would be able to reach the citizen better, and can provide information on employment, crop production, markets, government schemes, and so on. Provide various services like land records, certification, and so on at the doorstep of the farmers, and organize data on the government services at GP level or the Gram Panchayat level, and transfer that data. I think that's going to be easier for the government. Quick transfer of data is going to facilitate a lot at all levels of the government, helps in monitoring and evaluation of the projects, help in better and timely planning due to easy availability of the data, and timely execution of the project and programs. So the whole lot of benefit that the government can actually get. And as far as citizen is concerned, a better service delivery, easier access to information, clarity on information, as well as it will also reduce the cost, and reliability of information will be high. So with that, of course, even the businesses can come in and actually offer a whole lot of services. So we did this in one taluka called as Gubbi in Tumkur district, in 15 Gram Panchayats. And these the shaded area, the ones are the Gram Panchayats where it was tried. So what all we did government services, we did the tele-education, telemedicine, banking correspondence in some centers, and other services also we brought in. So what did we do in tele-education? So this is where satellite and advanced multimedia education with a live interactive session for the high school students. We initially took 14 high schools, concentrated on mathematics, science, and English for 8th, 9th, and 10th standard students. And classes were taught from a government studio at Bangalore. And these were received in all the 14 high schools. So this is the structure. And with the initial pilot, we found that there is substantial decrease in the failure rate. So that's one of the key things the government was also looking for. And with the kind of impact it has made, the government agreed to go for a larger number of schools. So generally it is said that pilots work, but when you scale it up, it won't work. So that's where the 1,000 schools was initiated in November 2014. And of course, at that time, when you look at the education performance, the performance was going down in 2010 to 2014. If you measure on some of the parameters like percentage of children in standard 3 who can recognize numbers and so on, it was actually going down. So that was sort of alarming situation. And that's where we started this intervention in 1,000 schools. While the enrollment has increased, quality of education was poor. Rural children, particularly girl child, are at disadvantaged level. And children from higher income groups moving from rural school to urban English medium schools, they left out were the weaker section category and in the government schools. So improving quality of education in rural school will help them, educate better, and more inclusive education can be provided. So there were definitely the problems of lack of adequate number of teachers, absenteeism, availability of trained teachers, and so on. So we can look at some of these figures in essentially talks about the computers, and about 60% of the schools did not have computers. Internet facilities, about 70% of the, again, even those 30% of the schools having internet, it's only for namesake. We have seen many of these schools, they don't work, either they have not paid the monthly charges, and therefore they disconnected and so on. So there are huge problems with respect to that. There are vacancies, especially in science and maths. About 40% science teachers were not there, and maths teachers to the extent about 25% and so on. So there are huge problems in with respect to schools, and that's where we thought, can we fill some of these gaps in terms of, tele-education. From studio goes to the satellite, and from satellites to it goes to various schools. And within these schools, they can also, the students can also ask questions, and there will be moderators who could be answering those questions. So therefore, it's more like a live class where students can also interact. So we had to, because of certain problems in the schools like power and so on, we had to have solar power with adequate battery and so on. So that's another issue that comes up when you start doing, some of these technologies when you try to bring in rural areas. Again, the content-wise, we were able to, in fact, we had partners who were able to develop multimedia contents, and they were very clear pictures and animated and so on, and therefore it was very clear to the students, and therefore the content is something which the students and the teachers also liked very much. These are some of the photographs in the schools. So we also designed this experiment in such a way that it also allows us for a rigorous testing of the impact. So we had treatment control schools. Of course, we added both government aided school and so on. Primary, secondary school, English, mathematics, and science were the three subjects that we dealt with. And it was in Kannada medium. And basically supplementing the school teachers' sessions. So the shaded districts are the selected district. These were the backward districts according to Nanjundappa committee report. And so you can see these dotted districts. They were the places where we had selected 18 districts. In each district, 4 talukas were randomly selected, and 2 were allotted for treatment and 2 were control. We had to make sure that the classrooms are in good conditions. And again, these are also issues when you start looking at some of these problems. Electricity connection, and whether the earthing is there or not, and so on. And also, minimum number of students in the class. So these were some of the intervention design that we have looked at. And the lectures were conducted from the studio in Bangalore, transmitted through the EduSat satellite. It was a dedicated satellite, and it was really excellent to have such a facility. So multimedia content prepared by joint team of teachers and computer programs, programmers, especially the animated part of it. Lectures delivered by experienced teachers, and each lecture would be about 40 minutes duration and 10 minutes for interaction at the end of the lecture. So one moderator for every 12 schools for answering questions. So schools provided with the necessary equipment and reception projection, dual power back, solar, and so on, as I talked about a little earlier. And technical support, there was a school coordinator was provided, two-way interaction facility through mobile phones provided to all the schools. So if you look at the results, and it actually made significant impact, higher impact in science followed by English and mathematics. And in case of science, schools with no science teachers show a higher impact size. So that was something one would expect, and therefore that's what we were able to find. So this was one of the large scale program to get positive significant impact. This design was closer to the real life conditions, so it's no more a pilot and so on. And this is achieved with a computer ratio of 135 to 1 student, so which is, sorry, 1 computer, 135 students and 1 computer, which is really good, which is actually similar to many developing countries, whereas developed countries can have much higher ratio, whereas here, in developing countries, we need to take that into account. And when we looked at the effectiveness in terms of cost, about a 4.7% increase in the spending can increase the learning up to 45%. So that's the kind of impact that we have seen. And when we look at the literature, we agree with some of the studies that they have done, that if well integrated into education systems, ICT can enhance the learning process of students. And the key is to find the right match between the areas that need intervention, technology, and pedagogy. So you need time to really work out the right balance between these things. And of course, good content is very important. So it should be crisp, distinct, cover variety of topics, interactive, simple, local language, use of local language. So these are all important features that one should have. So that was the experience that we had with teleeducation. Very interesting and very productive way of looking at how to use technology in rural areas with the problems that we have in terms of not able to find enough teachers or teacher absenteeism. They are also not trained. Sometimes, syllabuses change. We sort of try to align with the central syllabus, but the teachers are not taught appropriately for the various modules that have been, included. So those are issues, and this was also very useful. We found in hilly areas and so on. So that's another thing. And also it is very useful for physically challenged students. And sometimes there are special schools or hostels and so on for those situations, because for them finding teachers is very, very difficult. They are not easily available, and from so from a central location, one can provide good quality education to such students as well. So those are some advantages that one would have. So it's the technology can help in many ways in improving the education, quality of education in rural areas. So I'll briefly talk about the telemedicine. Telemedicine was also one of the things that we tried in our Gram Panchayat experiment. This was in 2010, 2012. In fact, when we went to this Gram Panchayat adopting 15 Gram Panchayats, we also sort of took help of a number of companies which had the technology to deliver, like Cisco had telemedicine developed at that time. Intel had Atom computers, which would use a very low amount of power. So battery driven things, of course, now it is very common to find laptops and power saving devices. But at that time, so we collaborated with a number of companies which had new technologies, better technologies, which can be taken to the rural areas and see to what extent they can actually help in delivering the public services. So in case of telemedicine, we used Cisco's the technology that they had developed in very recently and shown that in their campus in Bangalore. We tried this in two primary health centers. There were a number of issues that we had to address, right from broadband connection itself, then tweaking the broadband connection, because the upload and download split was quite different. Like upload split was very low, and therefore, if you really want to send the pictures, video pictures of patients, it would not go through. So you had to change that split. So, again, we had to work with the providers at the, BSNL for quite some time in order to change those split so that it was possible to make use for telemedicine as well. So we connected from our primary health center in a rural area. That is the place where we have adopted Gram Panchayat in Gubbi Taluk in Tumkur district to Apollo Hospital in Bangalore. So we were basically looking at how the distant, of course, we tried with the district hospital itself, but it was in terms of official communication and getting approvals and so on, it was really Herculean task, and therefore we looked at the private sector, and Apollo Hospital was just opposite of our campus, and it was so easy to access them. And it's because of that we went with the Apollo Hospital. Otherwise, our aim was to try to see how can we connect PHCs to Taluka Hospital, and district hospital, so that even if there are no doctors in the PHC level, the patient should be able to get their health care in most of the times through the doctors that are available at Taluka Hospital and district hospital. But that, again, because of this difficulty in actually getting through the government systems, so we went through the private hospital. Then we essentially, since there were doctors in the PHCs, so we basically focused on the secondary care. So primary care is something which PHC doctor will be able to give, and only in cases where he or she is not comfortable in providing the healthcare, then they could refer to the Apollo Hospital. So again, there also timing and planning this was important. We sort of dedicated 2 days in a week for connection with Apollo Hospital, because the doctors were also busy, and it's a question of time for them, and therefore they were able to give 2 weeks, 2 days in a week, about 2 hours or so their time in helping us in connecting with the patients, and so that we could experiment and see how this can be done. Again, the Cisco's initial version of the technology had various problems, but they were so helpful in terms of really working on it and trying to make sure that they addressed all the problems, and therefore, after about a few months, they were able to give us a good workable solution technology for telemedicine. So the doctor at Apollo Hospital was able to do the diagnosis as well as prescription, and which was given to the patient with the help of the doctor there at the PHCs. So we tested this for about 6 months, and it served about 180 patients. This was a long time ago, this 2011, 12. And because of certain legal issues, so that means at that time, telemedicine was not approved by the government. It was not legally approved, and therefore we just stopped it. We basically demonstrated the technology. We said that this is something which is, we could take advantage of, given that there is a shortage of doctors and also, again, making them their time available in rural areas. So telemedicine, so of course now there are, government has started and many states have actually, in Karnataka there is a e-Sanjeevani which is has been introduced. The Gram Panchayat where we were working, we sort of tried to look at it, and of course I think it needs it's there is a lot of improvement that can be done. With the COVID situation, many private hospitals have no teleconsultation. Number of startups are coming up and they are developing their own software. And we have adopted 5 Gram Panchayats again under the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan of the Government of India program, where we are trying to see how best we can actually use telemedicine in order to address the healthcare concerns. So some of these advantages, especially in rural areas with respect to telemedicine, is quick access to doctors. Today, again, they have to travel often many miles, go to town, go to the cities in order to get healthcare. But if we are able to provide a vibrant telemedicine solution, I'm sure it's going to be a great help for the rural people in terms of accessing healthcare facilities. So quick access to doctor is there, access to various specialist doctors, so different, like other situations where you have to run around different places and so on, especially in rural areas. Of course, in large cities, there is one hospital which can have all the specialist doctors, whereas in rural areas, towns and so on, we find they are all spread over in different places. Quick second opinion is easy. So availability of specialist at any time. It could be, of course, nowadays people are also linking with international doctors and so on. So therefore, anytime is not an issue. And access to various systems of medicine. That's another thing. Many of the PHCs are actually manned by one or the other Ayush doctors. But then, if there is an Ayurvedic doctor and if you want allopathic treatment, you have to go to some other place. So that's where I think there is telemedicine, then it can actually help in connecting all these different types of medicine experts and therefore make it available to the people, and therefore that will be a great facilitation. So it's particularly useful for elderly mobile patients and children. Immediate care is possible. I think that's a lot of deaths due to health issues are because of not available timely healthcare situation, particularly in rural areas. Another major facilitation would be that creation of a longitudinal secure database. I think if such a database can be developed with maybe the UID and so on, then it's very easy to look at patients' health conditions for any doctors. Of course, it should be made only available to the doctors so that privacy is actually protected. But that's all now it's all possible. And therefore, it can help in better diagnosis of the illness and therefore appropriate medicines for the patients. So it could reduce the cost of healthcare, and for a rural area, actually telemedicine is the best solution. May not solve all problems, but it can address a lot of problems in the rural area. And it can even have a more integrated approach of any government insurance or any other insurance and link it with the telemedicine, which will make things very easy for patients to access healthcare facilities. So what are challenges? I'll just spend a few minutes and close my presentation. So of course, in rural area, these are problems. There are problems of computer availability itself, whether it's laptop, mobiles. Now, most of these things are available on smartphones. So mobile penetration, of course, it's increasing, but there is still problems. And internet connectivity. So that's a problem. While it's so improving, but again, reliable internet connectivity is a problem. And we were trying to see how best the teleeducation can be rolled out in rural area for individual students. There are a whole lot of issues. So of course, you can solve it. You can address it. If you continuously think about it, we can address it. But the problem is, if you don't think about solving problems, then again, there are issues. So the problem remains problems for a long time to come. Connectivity, broadband is, again, reliable broadband connectivity is an issue. We had all kinds of things, maybe people say it is 2 MB, but, maybe there are only few, kilobytes of speed. So that's where fluctuations, a lot of fluctuation that you can see in rural areas. And both download and upload speed split is an issue that one has to address, and the companies companies should be able to address this. Of course, in especially most of the rural areas are connected with the BSNL, and there are also issues with respect to responding to requirements, as well as their own awareness about technology and so on. And there are those issues that needs to be solved if you really want to make it user friendly and able to address problems. Power availability, that's another issue. In many cases, there may be few hours of power available. And also there are issues with respect to, again, surge in power. And of course, in many cases, earthing is not proper and so on. And so those are all issues that one has to, quality of power. Quality power availability is a major issue in rural areas. Devices for vitals, so vital measurements. Of course, now there are several instruments are coming up in measuring in remotely. Even mobiles can measure some of it, and over time, and we are seeing better and better instruments are coming up, and many startups are also coming forward to address some of these issues. So we're hoping probably we will be able to resolve most of the issue. As of now itself, there are reasonably good technology available in terms of measuring vitals. Then the question of trained personnel in rural area. Again, one has to look at availability of trained personnel in the rural area, maybe train them in such a way that they could actually be comfortable with.
Hello.
In using.
Sorry, Professor, I can't hear you.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Vivek?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Sir, it's audible, sir.
Lost the connection.
Gopal,
Can
sir.
anybody hear me?
Voice
Yes,
is
sir.
audible, sir. Sir, it's audible,
Arvind,
sir.
sir, you are
Hello?
audible.
Okay. Is
Audible.
it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Professor,
Okay.
Gopal, sir,
Professor,
you
are
are
you
audible.
Okay.
okay? Let me check with Professor. Could you hear Professor?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, now I can hear you. Yeah. So you were
Okay.
talking about the personnel.
Yeah, personnel availability of personnel in rural
Right.
area is an issue because most people who have technical background would like to work in urban areas. So finding appropriate personnel is a problem, but it may be sort of solved by training those who are going to stay back in rural areas. That's an important thing one has to consider. Of course, one has to also look at what is the logistics of medicine supply, non-medical medicine supplies. So once the prescription is there, how one can actually get the supplies of medicine. And administration. So unless it is a private sector, this one in the government sector, the problem has been how systems are administered. Let us say if the doctors are not lined up properly, without proper queuing facilities and so on. Again, there are a lot of confusion. We have seen patients waiting and then going away because doctors are not available. So those. So how do we administer systems or manage systems is something which is very important in providing these services. Again, support from various government departments is important. That means that if you are saying continuous power availability is there, then you have to look at the electricity department and how they are able to provide service such a way that some of these programs will work very well continuously and able to get quality services by the people. So in conclusion, digital Bharat, instead of saying digital India, I'm focusing more on the rural areas. So needs reliable infrastructure, both power and connectivity. It is not saying so many villages are connected and so on, but what is the quality of the power? We have been talking about so many years, whether it is quality irrigation, quality power, quality connectivity, and so on. But somehow that quality aspect of it is sort of missing from our thought processes. So process changes are also required in order to make sure that the telemedicine is also part of the delivery system. Important part, it can be an important part as well. And then partnership, we may have to even collaborate with private sector. I don't think we should hesitate because, say, have the capability in addressing problems, able to manage efficiently systems and so on. There should be some way of working together with the private sector. I think PPPs are not so successful, especially in the social sectors in India. I think that's there are a whole lot of issues with respect to that. I think that's something we need to take care. And of course, capability in the government system also needs to know what are these in the whole, technology part of it needs to be understood very well in order to make sure that, there is an appropriate supervision by the government system as well. So therefore, there is a need for capability development. At the end of the day, we need to have a functional system. This is where, I think we see PHCs and so on, often either the equipment is not there or the personnel is not there or something else is not there. So if, let's say, one of them is not there, we can't really make it, it cannot work. It cannot provide the services it is meant for. So we need to really look at how do we develop functional system. Even if they are fewer, it is okay, but they should be functional. And there has to be some minimum standard of functionality. And that is where I think we need to focus on. And of course, budget allocation, as I mentioned earlier. So the school systems were not given budget for monthly charges of telecom. And so therefore, they don't have this. So even if you connect the with the internet, you can't pay, and therefore it is as if there is no use of having internet connectivity. So those are some issues that needs to be addressed in order to make sure that some of these technologies can be effectively addressed or effectively used in addressing the problems in rural areas. So thank you so much, and